Hello, and welcome to Aiyana Wellness. My name is Kelsey, and I'm very happy to introduce Vinyasa Yoga, the intermediate series. In this type of yoga, we link the asanas or the poses to ujjayi breathing, and we also link each sequence to a vinyasa flow. And there are many variations and modifications you can do to your vinyasa flow. Some include, from your plank position, lowering down to your knees. You can also, instead of pushing all the way up to an up dog, you can push halfway up on your forearms to Sphinx pose. Or if you want to avoid the back bend altogether, pushing all the way back up to your plank and then to your down dog. So I encourage you to find a vinyasa flow that works well for your body today. And know that you can skip any flows, vinyasa flows, and just rest in child's pose if your body needs that. So please listen to your body, honor your intuition, and let's get moving. Starting standing at the top of your mat, hands at heart center, engaging your ujjayi breath, constricting the back of your throat on the exhale. Inhaling the arms up overhead. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling up halfway to a flat back. Exhaling your hands to the top of the mat, stepping back to plank or lowering down to your knees. Chaturanga, bending the elbows, tucking the toes to extend the elbows up dog, and lifting hips up and back to our down dog. Reaching the chest towards the thighs as you bend your knees on this first down dog. Spreading fingertips wide, relaxing the neck. Breathing deeply. On your next inhale, stepping in between the hands, coming up halfway. Exhale, folding forward. Inhaling the arms up overhead. Exhale to back bend slightly. Inhaling back up. Exhale, folding forward, hinging at the hips. Inhaling up halfway. Exhaling your hands down, stepping back. Bending the elbows, chaturanga. Tucking the toes to extend, up dog. Exhaling, lifting hips up and back to our down dog. Still reaching chest to thighs. Maybe pedaling out your feet here. Starting to reach those heels closer to the mat. Breathing deeply and fully. And inhaling, stepping in between the hands, coming up halfway. Exhale, folding forward. Inhaling the arms up overhead. Exhale to back bend. Inhaling up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhaling up halfway. Exhaling, hands to the mat, stepping back, going through your vinyasa with any modifications that you might need. Dropping to your knees. Meeting in our down dog. Keep breathing fully with your ujjayi breath. Stepping in between your hands, coming up halfway. Exhale to fold forward. Inhaling the arms up overhead. Exhale to back bend. Inhaling up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhaling up halfway. And exhaling the hands to the mat, stepping back, going through your vinyasa. And inhaling the right leg up. Exhaling it in between the hands, pointing both toes forward in 2 lanes, rising up the arms and torso, keeping the hips straight and relaxing the shoulders down, engaging the back leg, maybe leaning back slightly, breathing deeply, and lowering both hands to the mat, stepping back and vinyasa. And inhaling the left leg up, exhaling it in between the hands, pointing both toes forward in 2 lanes, rising up the torso, relaxing the shoulders down, hips facing forward, finding a point to focus on as you breathe deeply, engaging the back leg, leaning back slightly. And lowering both hands to the mat, stepping back and vinyasa. And from our downward dog, inhaling the right leg up and opening the hips. So you're stacking right on left. Both hands are still grounded in the mat. Squaring the hips, stepping that foot in between the hands, lowering the back heel, opening the arms up to a T, warrior 2, checking your heel arch alignment and that front knee is facing forward, not in, and looking out over your fingertips, breathing deeply. Hinging forward and placing both hands on the mat, stepping back and vinyasa. Taking your time on each of these vinyasas at your own pace and meeting in a down dog. Inhaling the left leg up and opening the hips, stacking left on right. I like to flex my foot and keep my legs straight for an additional stretch in the hips, but you can bend your leg. Squaring the hips, stepping that foot in between the hands, lowering the back heel, opening arms up to a T, warrior 2. Checking that heel arch alignment and that front knee position, and looking out over your fingertips, palms facing down. Breathing deeply. Slowly hinging forward into that front leg. And lowering both hands down, stepping back to plank and vinyasa. And meeting in our downward dog. Remembering that intention. And walking the hands back to meet the feet. And rising up the torso. Exhaling arms to cactus and opening the upper chest, leaning back slightly. We're breathing into our belly here, looking slightly up. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Grabbing opposite elbow, relaxing the neck. You can sway side to side if that feels good, or from toes to heels. Inhaling up halfway. And we'll do some standing cat-cows. Inhaling, rounding the spine, looking down. Exhale, arching, looking up. Inhale, rounding, looking down. Exhale, arching, looking up. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, arching. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, arching. And finding that neutral spine. Holding in this flat back for one more breath. And lowering the hands down, walking them to the top of the mat and going down through your vinyasa. Inhaling the right leg up. Exhaling it in between the hands, both toes facing forward, hands on hips, rising up the torso, inhaling the left arm up for a slight back bend here in our high lunge. Feeling that stretch on your quad and hip flexor. Breathing deeply, keeping the bend in the front leg. And rising up both arms, hinging forward 45 degrees, leaning into that front leg. Still breathing deeply. And shifting your weight into that front leg, keeping it bent, shooting the left leg out behind you for airplane pose. Both arms are straight behind you. Even your fingers are engaged. And lowering that back foot to the mat, stepping back to plank and going through your vinyasa. And from our down dog, inhaling the left leg up, exhaling it in between the hands. Hands on hips as you rise your torso. Inhaling the right arm up and back. Keep leaning into the front leg. Breathing deeply into the belly. Inhaling the left arm up and hinging forward 45 degrees. And then bring your weight into that front foot, lifting up the back foot behind you, keeping that left leg bent. Arms shooting out behind you for our airplane pose. One more deep breath. And shooting that leg back down and the left foot to meet it in plank, going down through your vinyasa. And from our downward dog, walking the hands back to meet the feet, hands on hips as you rise your torso up. Shifting your weight into your right foot, bringing the elbows back, opening the upper chest as you lift the back foot up. Maybe 1 inch off the mat. Maybe your toe is still on the mat for balance. Engaging the glute. Now bending that left leg, reaching for the foot, and extending the right arm out in front. Finding your balance here. And once you have your balance, kicking into the hand and hinging your weight forward for our dancer's pose. Breathing deeply and slowly rising the torso, releasing the foot. And forward folding. Walking your hands to the top of your mat, stepping back to plank, going through your vinyasa. Walking the hands back to meet the feet, hands on hips, rising up the torso. Bringing the weight into your left foot, reaching the elbows back. Lifting the right foot up behind you. And begin bending the right leg, reaching for the foot. Extending the left arm out in front of you. And when you're ready, begin hinging forward into dancer's pose, kicking your foot into your hand. Deep breaths. And rising up the torso, slowly releasing the foot. Arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Walking your hands to the top of the mat, stepping back to plank, and going through your vinyasa. And lowering down onto your knees to our all fours position. Inhaling, rounding the spine, looking down. Exhale, arching, looking up. Inhale, rounding, looking down. Exhale, arching, looking up. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, arching. Inhale, rounding. And finding your neutral spine. Extending the right leg out behind you and the left arm in front. Keeping your abs tucked in. Engaging that whole leg and arm through to your fingertips. And begin bending the right leg, reaching back with the opposite hand to grab the foot. And slowly releasing the foot, coming back to all fours. Extending the left leg out behind you and the right arm out in front. Keep the abs tucked in. Bending the left leg, reaching back with the right arm to grab the foot. Maybe kicking into that hand a bit, opening up the shoulder. And releasing the foot. And walking your hands forward, keeping your hips lifted for puppy pose. Relaxing your forehead on the mat. Inhale, shifting your weight forward, coming back to your plank, and going down through your vinyasa. Inhaling the right leg up. Exhaling it in between the hands, lowering the back knee to the mat, and placing both hands on your front knee, engaging both quads as you gently push the hips forward. Keeping the spine straight, or leaning backwards if you'd like more of a back bend stretch. And pushing back, straightening the right leg, folding forward one hand on either side. Keeping that leg straight. And releasing the head down. Inhaling the torso up, coming to kneeling position, hands behind your back. As you lean back slightly, looking up, pushing the hips forward, leaning back into the toes, breathing into your belly, and slowly rising up the torso, walking the hands forward and pushing back to your downward dog. Inhaling the left leg up, exhaling it in between the hands, lowering the back knee down, engaging both quads, both hands on the front knee, making sure your knee doesn't go over your ankle, breathing deeply. And pushing back, straightening the left leg, folding forward over it, and releasing the head down. Inhaling up the torso, coming back to that kneeling position, hands behind your back, unless you have full camel in your practice and you like to grab your ankles, pushing the hips forward, breathing deeply into the belly, and rising up the torso, sitting onto the heels, and walking the hands forward, coming to plank, going down through your vinyasa. And from our down dog, shifting your weight forward into your plank position. Maybe rocking forward and backward on your toes a couple times. And lowering down onto your belly, extending your arms out in front, and taking a few deep breaths into your belly here. And inhaling, lifting up the arms and legs, breathing deeply. And releasing down to the mat. And bending both legs, reaching back to grab your feet. Kicking into your hands, opening the upper chest for bow pose. Breathing into your belly. And releasing the feet, lowering down onto your forehead. And then bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders for Sphinx pose and engaging both legs out behind you, trying to lift the knees up off the mat. Looking straight forward. And releasing the legs down. Hands under the shoulders, pushing to your upward dog. Trying to keep your knees off the mat. Looking up slightly. One more deep breath. And then sitting back on your heels, walking your hands forward, resting on your forehead. You can open your knees wide if that feels better to you. Breathing deeply. And shifting your weight forward to plank and going through your vinyasa. And we'll meet in a seated position with legs extended out in front. Walking your hands back behind you, bending the legs, and inhaling, lifting the hips up. Relaxing your neck, maybe rocking forwards and backwards. And lowering the hips down. Shifting your weight back to sacrum, extending the arms out in front. And begin lifting your feet up and extending for boat pose. Trying to keep your spine straight. Deep breaths. And lowering the legs down. Pointing the toes inwards, hands behind your glutes, and lifting the hips up. And lowering the hips back down. Shifting your weight back to your sacrum, arms in front, back to our boat pose. You have the option of going to your half boat onto your lower back. Breathing deeply. And bending the knees, rolling back and forth, coming up to a seated position. And stepping back and going through your vinyasa. And meeting on our backs, lying down. Bending your legs so your feet are on the mat, hip width distance. As you inhale, lifting the hips, either interlacing the hands behind the back or just placing them palm face down. Breathing into the belly. And lowering the hips down. And inhaling, lifting the hips up again. Maybe lifting up one foot at a time. Maybe just lifting up onto your toe. Maybe lifting that leg up into the air. And then switching to the other leg. Keeping the hips lifted. And releasing the hips back down. And you can do bridge pose one more time, or if you have full wheel in your practice, placing your hands by your ears, pushing into your hands and your feet, lifting your head up off the mat. Trying to open the shoulders. Still breathing. And when you're ready, coming down onto your back, hugging your knees into your chest. Maybe rocking side to side. And rocking forward. Shooting your legs back to your plank and going through one last vinyasa. And from our downward dog, we'll meet in a seated position. Extending the feet out in front, inhaling, arms up, exhaling, forward, your chin to your toes. And exhaling, your head down. Inhaling the arms up. And bending the knees. Your feet are touching in butterfly pose. Straightening the spine. And maybe folding forward slightly, keeping the low back straight. And inhaling the torso up. Extending the legs out in front, coming down onto your back. And lifting your feet up. Maybe grabbing onto the outsides of your feet. And maybe rocking side to side. And releasing the feet, hugging the knees into the chest. And lowering both knees down to the left side, looking to the right. And bringing knees back to center. And lowering them down to the right side, looking to the left. And bringing knees back to center, lifting the feet up, maybe lifting the hips up, holding onto the hips for supported shoulder stand. Maybe lowering the feet down behind you for plow, or just staying where you are. And slowly lowering the hips down to the mat, and even slower lowering the legs down, 1 inch at a time. Opening the mat width distance, pointing the toes outwards, extending the arms out to the side, palm face up. Coming to our final Shavasana pose, letting your body receive the work it just did. Taking a full breath in and a full breath out. And wiggling your toes and your fingers. Bending your arms and your legs. And coming to lie on your favorite side, bending your knees. And when you're ready, pushing up to a seated position, keeping your eyes closed and straightening your spine. Bringing hands to heart center. Expressing gratitude for your practice, your body, and your mind. Remembering the intention that you set. And bowing your head, leaving your ego below your heart. Namaste.